Hi everyone, it is currently the 29th of October 2014. Meteorologist Robert Spetto here with you today. I haven't done a video update in a few days. The big things that have happened over the last few days. So it's this cold surge that came across Japan. It dropped some snowfall to parts of Hokkaido and to Honshu as well. Temperatures still during the overnight hours continue to drop below freezing. But the main reason of this update is outside of the grasp of the most recent cold surge, which extends right down to about here. We have Invest 96W right around this area here into Guam. It's a weak low pressure area. At this time, actually, the Japan Meteorological Agency does have it as an LPA. It also has it moving on a westerly track. And you can see it right here. Just this is 48 hours out now, pushing just north of Yap and Palau by that time. Where exactly is this going to be going? I think that's the big question. A lot of you are really asking at this time, especially if you are out here in the Philippines, maybe thinking, exactly 1 year ago from this formation time, we were talking about Haiyan. It really was 1 year ago today that we first started seeing that cloud form up towards the east of Guam. This little low pressure area by no means is going to be like. As far as the steering dynamics, though, it does have relatively similar aspects when it comes to that, though. We have the subtropical ridge extending across much of this area right here, north of that formation center. So that's going to make this move on a westerly track. The thing is, though, this is a lot more intense than what we saw with Haiyan, and Haiyan was farther down here towards the south in its formation. So it was way away from the grasp of that high vertical wind shear, which at least at this time is encompassing the northern periphery of this low pressure area. See here, actually upwards about 30 to 40 knots on the northern extent of that. That is providing some outflow, but it definitely is not conducive for rapid intensification. Look at some of the model outlooks here, and there's a few of them I do want to show you. First, let's start off with the Meteor for ECMWF, and it does show our low-level circulation, and most models do initialize this. The intensity and where exactly it's going is different, but the big thing is that they all do initialize it, so at least going into the week, and I do expect some sort of low pressure area. Depends on what Bagasa says. It could be a tropical depression moving close to the Philippines by Saturday into Sunday. This could bring some rainfall, and I think that's going to be the bigger issue. Also, we have a high pressure off towards the north, so the winds on the northern periphery of this are going to be extending well away from the center. Much of Luzon very well could be seeing some gale force winds by the end of the weekend into Monday of next week. For the sake of comparing, let's also take a look at our GFS model run. This is going into Saturday and Sunday. Now this is as of Wednesday afternoon. A weak low pressure area, possibly a tropical depression. As I mentioned, it depends on what Bagasa thinks, moving across the Philippines. But you can see here the winds really pick up on the northern periphery of this. It's because, as you can see way off here, we have the high pressure coming in, and that interacts with our low, and that creates a very tight pressure gradient. So gale force winds, despite the low being relatively weak, being seen across much of Luzon. So very windy conditions, definitely high serve, very probable. Also that persistent moisture pushing on shore. Meanwhile, I do want to mention this. We also have another low forming right behind it, and this one pushing off there towards the west. Now the slow forming in right behind it, GFS models being more aggressive with that. Granted, this time frame right here is the 7th of November. So actually, I'll be in the Philippines by that point for the Western Pacific Weather Meet and Greet. So if that was to verify, we'd have definitely a lot of stuff to talk about out there. Let's compare this up with the NavGen. Also shows this low developing actually rather rapidly and pushing onshore over the Philippines, as we can see here, by the 3rd into the 4th for the first low, and then a second low developing right on the heels of that. But at least on the 5th, this is still pushing across the Philippines. So I think actually by the time a lot of us fly to the Philippines, which we are going to be all doing on the 6th and the 7th, the Western Pacific Weather Meet and Greet coming up on those days in Manila, could be some pretty wet weather out there. A few areas in the tropics definitely spawning up, and does seem like conspiring to develop into some sort of storm system. So with that said, we're going to keep an eye on this. I don't expect major typhoons, at least with this first low. The second one, the possibility is there, but I don't really want to say anything at this time. Still long-range forecast on that. At the very least, let's keep a very close eye on it. So here's another look at the ECMWF. That's our model, just showing here on to the 4th and the 5th. That low really just lingering even through the 6th and the 7th, just off the east coast of the Philippines. ECMWF actually pulls it towards the northeast. So like I said, there's a lot of variables involved in this particular outlook. As we go ahead through this coming weekend, we'll have more information. And definitely by next week, the forecast will become more in tune. For now, though, let's keep an eye on it. Off there towards the east. Stay safe out there, guys. And thanks for watching. Bye.